Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if smart Naruto built large harem with Tenten, Tayuya, Fuka, Konan, Samui, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this and comment for next part. And now let's start the fanfic. A boy around the age of 15 was walking down the street. This boy, however, was no ordinary boy. He had blonde spiky hair, deep blue eyes and 3 whisker-like marks on each of his cheeks. He wore an orange jumpsuit along with goggles on his forehead and was about 1.5 meters in height with a small build. His name was Naruto Uzumaki. The one aspect which made Naruto so unique is that inside of him was sealed the 9-tailed demon fox which attacked the village hidden in the leaves 15 years ago on Naruto's birthday of October 10th. Naruto walked along the street, the gravel crunching under his sandals, with shops on both sides of him selling food, clothes and other necessities. The shops themselves appeared to look like small houses. Naruto was heading to the Ichiraku ramen shop after another day of being unable to succeed in the basic tasks required of him by the academy. Sigh, why can't I do anything right? Everything I try to do is a failure. Naruto said out loud. They were practicing jutsus today and Naruto failed miserably in trying to produce a clone once again, much to the amusement of his classmates. Naruto looked around and noticed those who were looking at him at the time gave him glares filled with small amounts of fear and overwhelming amounts of hatred. He sighed and kept walking. Why am I looking around to see if anyone is listening? After all, no one cares about me anyway and wouldn't even blink an eye if I started talking to myself. Thought Naruto bitterly. Line break. After wallowing in his depressive thoughts for a while he finally arrived at the Ichiraku ramen shop. The shop was a small square building with flaps hanging off the base of the roof at the entrance, as well as a lantern on the right. Inside there was a counter and 10 bar stools with the kitchen behind the counter. Hey, old man Ichiraku. Naruto said cheerfully, becoming much happier than he was before, as he was now in his favorite ramen shop which serves his favorite food, ramen. Naruto, good to see you, the usual right? Asked Tyuki. Tyuki was a man in his 40s and had a small pot belly. Tyuki's attire consisted of an apron and a chef's hat and always seemed to have a happy demeanor, which made it difficult to see his eyes, as well as black hair which was starting to turn gray. You better believe it, old man. Naruto said loudly, as he jumped up on one of the stools. Coming right up. Also, since I know it's your birthday, today it's all on the house. Tyuki said happily. Really? Cried Naruto, his eyes shining with elation, with a small amount of drool escaping his mouth. Chuckle, yep. Ayame and I also got you a little present, said Tyuki cheerfully before he went to make Naruto his ramen, while Ayame came out from the kitchen. Ayame was Tyuki's daughter and wore similar attire to her father minus the hat, and in place wore a white bandana. She had long brown hair and brown eyes. Oh, what is it? Asked Naruto, practically jumping off the stool, all thoughts of the academy forgotten. Here you go, Naruto. Ayame said happily, handing Naruto an envelope. Naruto opened the envelope and couldn't believe his eyes. 10 whole day free meal vouchers, said Naruto before he lowered his head with his bangs overshadowing his eyes. Eventually Naruto looked back up and was on the verge of crying from joy. Thanks a lot you guys, said Naruto, just about to cry, but instead gave a big smile. Line break. Naruto finished 12 bowls of ramen and headed home. On the way home he noticed the villagers staring at him even more aggressively than usual and tried to understand why they hated him so much. Unable to think of a reason he smiled at them and kept on walking, which somehow caused them to become even angrier. Honestly, what have I ever done which could make all these people so angry? My pranks aren't that annoying, are they? Mused Naruto internally. Finally he arrived at his apartment, if it could even be called that. His apartment was leaning slightly to the right with a small 10 centimeter diameter hole on the roof, which he had to patch up himself with whatever rotting lumber he could find. The power died every 6 hours and the hot water for the house only lasted for 5 minutes at a time, but still, it was all he had. He went in and had a quick shower before getting ready for bed. Naruto was asleep in no time, and that's when things got weird. Line break. Where am I? Thought Naruto. Naruto walked around in the darkness for a minute, eventually finding what looked to be a set of pipes. He saw a red light in the distance and quickly rushed ahead. He followed it and eventually came across what looked like a jail cell with a piece of paper on the middle which said, "Seal." Naruto then thought he heard a sound, so being a 15-year-old boy who had absolutely no idea where he was or how he got there, he did the obvious. He asked, "Who's there?" There was no reply until the sound of a deep sinister laughter echoed around him. "Ha ha ha ha," laughed an ominous voice. Now scared and a little annoyed, Naruto asked again, "Who's there?" "Ha ha, puny human, it is I, the nine-tailed fox," boomed a loud and deep voice filled with malicious undertones. Naruto, who was quite scared at this point, asked frightfully, "What do you want? For that matter, why are you here? I thought the fourth killed you, how are you alive?" "Grr, silence. Don't mention that accursed man around me again," growled the fox. Naruto was clearly shaken, and the fox grinned at that. Now you don't have to be scared, however if these bars weren't here, you would be," said the fox. "Fine, I'm not scared now, what are you doing here?" asked Naruto, most fear gone from his voice, only a slight tremble lingering. "You've got guts, kid, and I admire that. Also, since it's your birthday and you have shown me that you have some backbone, I'm going to give you a little present," said the fox with a devilish grin. "Well, what are you going to give me?" asked Naruto, mildly curious, but still suspicious of the large entity in front of him. "Come closer to the cage so I can give it to you," said the fox. Naruto tentatively took steps closer to the cage until the fox stuck his claws in between the bars of the cage. Naruto jumped back barely in time. "I want to give you a quick and painful death and escape from here," shouted the fox, angry at having been unable to reach Naruto. "Hey, what the hell are you doing, you stupid fox?" screamed Naruto angrily. The fox growled for a minute before breathing out and deciding to be a little bit more nice. "Well, foolish human, since I can't kill you or escape, I figured we could work out a deal and I could give you something in exchange," said the fox. Naruto wasn't too trusting after the fox's most recent attempt to kill him, so he narrowed his eyes at the fox and asked, "What am I going to get?" "Well, for one thing, I'm going to let you use my chakra and not disrupt your own because I don't want my vessel to be a failure and by reflection make me look pathetic," began the fox, before being interrupted. "Wait, are you telling me I couldn't do anything right because you were stopping me and it's your fault that everyone sees me as a loser?" asked Naruto, absolutely enraged, not even caring that he was mouthing off to a being which almost destroyed the Leaf Village. "Yes," replied the fox nonchalantly. "Why?" stammered Naruto. "For fun. Don't forget that I have been trapped in here for 15 years with nothing to do," said the fox, smiling and showing all of his huge and razor-sharp teeth. "What? That's ridiculous. You are one sick fox for making me deal with all of this trouble and making me fail at everything I try to do," growled Naruto. "Perhaps, but it's because of you, I, the strongest tailed beast, has had to be trapped inside the belly of a puny fleshy body for 15 years. Therefore, consider what I've been doing payback," retorted the fox unhappily. Naruto couldn't say a thing to that and couldn't believe someone had fun torturing him all his life, but understood that the fox had been trapped for a long time. "Now, if you're done complaining, I'll tell you what else you are going to get," continued the fox, pausing to see if Naruto would respond. Naruto didn't say anything, causing the fox to give a small snort of approval. "Good," said the fox before disappearing for a second and came back with one of his tails wrapped around something which he pushed out of the cage. "This is the summoning contract for demon foxes. No one has ever been allowed to sign it, but seeing as how I'm trapped in here, I might as well give you the contract. Plus, if you learn to summon me, I'll be finally allowed out of this cage. Said the fox with a faraway look. Wait, if I summon you, how do I know you aren't going to go crazy and destroy everything? Asked Naruto, suspicion laced heavily in his voice. Insolent brat. I am not a mindless beast bent on destruction, well usually. Muttered the fox. In any case, if you summon me, I will be partially tied to your will and thus won't be able to do something which you have directly said not to do, like destroying this puny village. Said the fox. I don't know. How can I trust you? Questioned Naruto. Idiot, I'm giving you the chance to fulfill your dreams and you're questioning me. Fine, even if you don't trust me, Kit, just release the summoning and I'll be right back in here. Growled the fox in irritation. Okay, Nine Tails. Oh, and what's a kit? Asked Naruto, with his head tilted to the side. What I'm going to call you from now on, which is usually what foxes refer to their kids as, kits. Also call me Kyubi. At least for now anyway. Finished the fox. Okay, whatever you say. Said Naruto nonchalantly. I can't wait to show everyone how good I am. Thought Naruto, already imagining what he was going to do. Naruto bit his thumb and got blood on all his fingertips, before writing his name, followed by pressing his fingers under it, completing the signing. One more thing, Kit. Don't summon me unless you really need to, because right now it would drain all your chakra, putting you in a dangerous state. Although, on the other hand, go ahead and if you die I'll be freed. Said the fox, while taking the contract back with another tail now that it was signed. Okay. However, there's no way I will let you free. That being said, one day I am going to have to do something to get rid of all that hate inside you, said Naruto while thinking about all the possibilities of being able to summon foxes. The fox was surprised that Naruto cared for it. Could he be different than the others? Thought the fox. The fox showed Naruto the hand signs, or in his case claw signs, and Naruto memorized them after the fourth time he saw it. Naruto left Kyubi's cage and went back to sleep to the sound of the fox laughing. I can't wait until he realizes that since he signed the contract and accepted my chakra, I am now able to talk to him at will and see, hear, smell and experience everything he experiences as well as know his thoughts. Tomorrow morning is going to be fun. Chuckled Kyubi before curling up and going to sleep as well. Naruto awoke the next day feeling happy, however, he also felt that something inside him had changed. Getting out of bed, he went through his morning activities and then set out to get some ramen. After eating, he figured he would go train, and that's when he heard something. Hey Kit, said a voice. Who's there? Asked Naruto, looking around trying to spot who had spoken, only to find he didn't see anyone nearby. You aren't going to find me out there, I'm in your head. Said the voice with an amused tone. Kyubi, thought Naruto. It seems you're not as dumb as I thought you were. Chuckled Kyubi. Why are you in my head? Asked Naruto. I'll tell you in a minute, but first, stop speaking out loud. If you think something, I will hear it. Said Kyubi with an even tone. Really? Questioned Naruto in his mind. Yep. See for yourself. Said Kyubi. Okay. What do you want, Kyubi? Thought Naruto with a bit of annoyance in his tone, as he was hungry. Hey, I'm trying to help you get stronger here, so talk to me with the proper respect or I will annoy you until you go mad. Growled the fox. Sigh, what do you want? Relented Naruto. I want you to go to a weapons store and buy a katana and have the blade made 50 centimeters long. Also, I want you to get ankle weights, wrist weights and a weighted vest which are capable of increasing in weight with chakra. One more thing is I want you to buy 100 or so 3-prong kunai with an area on the handle where you can place a seal around. It should be around 20 centimeters in girth to allow for the seal. Lastly, get some sealing paper and ink as well as a small brush. Said Kyubi. Do you think I am rich or something? I am an orphan, I can't afford all that. ranted Naruto in his mind. No. But this won't cost you more than the money you spend on food in a week, and since you have those vouchers and you only eat ramen, I'd say you are taken care of in that department. Replied the fox nonchalantly. Fine. Growled Naruto in his mind. Line break. Naruto went to the nearest weapons store, which was a small four-walled building with a flat roof that was significantly higher than the other shops around, while still being only one level. He walked in and spotted a girl he recognized from when he was in the academy. Hey Tenten, how's it going? Said Naruto, happy at seeing a familiar face and not having to talk to the fox. Naruto, what are you doing here? Asked Tenten, who since graduating, had never seen Naruto again, aside from occasionally seeing him running through the village evading Anbu. Tenten wore a pink sleeveless blouse and dark green pants with her hair up in two buns, with her forehead protector just under her fringe on her forehead. She was also around Naruto's height, being only a couple centimeters taller. Oh, I'm here to buy some things for my training, stated Naruto. Oh, well, tell me what you need, and I'll see if we have it, said Tenten happily. Naruto told her what he wanted, but there was a problem with the kunai. Naruto, those kunai aren't something we have in stock, as I have never heard of anyone buying them, so it'll take about 3 days until they are ready, as they would come under the option of being a custom order, said Tenten. Hey Kyuubi, what should I do? Thought Naruto. Idiot. Obviously come and get them when they are done, growled the fox in disbelief. Damn Kyuubi, relax, I was just asking, thought back Naruto. Alright Tenten, I'll be back in 3 days for those, thanks for the help and see you around, said Naruto after paying. Okay, see you in 3 days I guess, said Tenten, sounding a little confused at Naruto's rapid mood change from being deep in thought to cheerful in the span of a few seconds. Line break. Naruto followed Kyuubi's directions until he found himself at a small training ground with lots of trees and a small stream running through it. Kyuubi instructed him to use this training ground over the next 2 days, as it seemed to be one of the lesser frequented ones. Over the next 2 days, Naruto learned how to climb trees and walk on water with his chakra. His weights were all up to 5 kilograms each, with the vest being 20. He also did standard exercises such as push-ups, crunches, lunges, squats, calf raises and log punches and kicks. Additionally, he familiarized himself with his sword and did diagonal slashes, vertical slashes, and horizontal slashes, until Kyuubi deemed his form acceptable. Line break. On the 3rd day, Naruto went back to the weapon shop, but Tenten wasn't there, and in her place, there was a large well-built man, who Naruto assumed to be the owner of the shop. Hello, I'm Naruto Uzumaki and I'm here for my custom order kunai, said Naruto in a business-like tone. Uzumaki, huh? Well, here are your kunai. I expect great things from you, said the shop owner. Thanks old man, and you will see great things from me. I'm going to be the Hokage, Naruto said, before he was about to say his signature catchphrase, though the fox interjected. Say, believe it, and you won't believe what I will do to you, threatened the fox. Tisk, fine, thought Naruto. See you around, said Naruto, before he left the store to train. Line break. Naruto continued to train over the next 3 days, spending the last day practicing calligraphy until Kyuubi told him his characters were drawn to an adequate standard. Finally, the day of the exam came. Naruto arrived at the academy and sat down behind Sasuke in an empty row, much to Kyuubi's ire if his growl was any indication. Blasted Uchiha, this one even looks like Madara, raged Kyuubi. First there was the written examination, which Naruto struggled with, as the questions he was given were so hard that even Sakura, the smartest girl in the class, would struggle with, after which there was the jutsu examination. Iruka stood up and said, the jutsu you will be tested on is the clone jutsu. Naruto instantly knew he would fail because he could never do that jutsu due to having heaps of chakra and not having good enough control yet. However, he was hopeful that just maybe he had enough control to do it now. When his turn came, he tried his hardest, but all he got was one dead-looking clone. Both Naruto and Iruka were twitching when Mizuki spoke up. Iruka, we could let him pass. It is his third try, so he has shown he is dedicated to becoming a ninja. Naruto got his hopes up a little but wasn't going to like what came next when Iruka spoke. Mizuki, all the other children produced at least 3 effective replications, while Naruto could only produce 1, and look at it, it's pitiful. I'm afraid I can't pass him. Naruto sighed, but his bad mood was somewhat mitigated by the sad fact that he knew he wasn't going to pass. I thought you said you stopped messing with my chakra. Thought Naruto. I did, but you had abysmal chakra control even without my interference, and a couple days of practicing chakra control is not going to make much of a difference thanks to how large your reserves are. Replied Kyuubi. Sigh, oh well I guess. Said the orange-clad ninja despondently, before exiting the academy. Line break. Naruto was really depressed seeing as he was the only one who failed. After listening to the cruel words of the villagers thanks to his enhanced senses, he was just about ready to leave and hide himself away, when Mizuki found him outside. Hey Naruto, let's talk. Said Mizuki. Naruto walked off with Mizuki and they sat on the roof of a building near the academy. Iruka doesn't hate you. He just really wants to make sure you're ready for the duties of a ninja. Said Mizuki warmly. Well, I am trying, but nothing seems to work. Said Naruto hopelessly. I just really want to be a ninja. Said Naruto. As Mizuki heard this, he got a glint in his eyes which was missed by Naruto. Well Naruto, there is a secret graduation exam. Said Mizuki with a smile. He proceeded to tell Naruto about the scroll of seals and that anyone who knew one of those techniques would become a leaf ninja. Naruto had his suspicions but didn't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, so he ignored them for now. Line break. Later that night, Naruto stole the scroll and learnt the first jutsu on it, the Shadow Clone Jutsu. After he finished learning it, Kyuubi spoke up. Hey kid, look for a technique called the Flying Thunder God. After taking a quick glance at it, he realized something. I'm guessing that's why you wanted me to buy those kunai. Thought Naruto. Yep. Replied the fox with a grin. You kitsunes really are tricky, aren't you? Stated Naruto rhetorically. Naruto found the technique and hastily made a seal with his brush according to the seal array he found in the scroll, with the ink he had with him, after he dropped some of his blood into the ink. Unnoticed by Naruto, when he dropped his blood into the ink it took on a yellowish hue, before it reverted back to its dark blue coloring. He carefully attached the seals to the 3-pronged kunai, then grabbed them and tried to do the jutsu on a few nearby trees. However, he couldn't make it all the way to the kunai and only covered half the distance. Naruto practiced for half an hour when suddenly Iruka appeared and said with a grin, "It's all over Naruto." Hey Iruka-sensei, you caught me, and I was only able to master one technique and start learning another. Said Naruto, giving one of his signature grins. Iruka looked around and saw the damage done to the trees and to Naruto himself when he asked Naruto why he stole the scroll. Naruto happily replied, Mizuki-sensei told me anyone who knows one of the jutsus in this scroll becomes a leaf ninja. That's why you stole the scroll? Asked Iruka. Yep. Because I have to become a genin if I'm going to become Hokage, and I will. Said Naruto. Seeing Iruka's confused face, Naruto had only one thought. I knew Mizuki was lying. He thought angrily. Iruka was stunned however by the response, and at that moment Mizuki had arrived on the scene hearing what Naruto had said and started laughing. Ha ha ha. You, the Hokage. In your dreams, you will never become the Hokage. And you want to know why? Mizuki, stop, it's forbidden to speak of it. Yelled Iruka. Quiet Iruka. Naruto, you will never be the Hokage because you have the 9-tailed fox sealed within you and everyone despises you for it. Said Mizuki, with a sadistic smirk on his face. Naruto was stunned, but not because of the knowledge of the fox being sealed inside him, but rather because he now knew why the villagers hated him. Mizuki then threw a huge shuriken at Naruto and Naruto was too stunned to move, so Iruka got in front of it and got hit in the back. Why, Iruka-sensei? Asked Naruto. Because Naruto, you and I are the same, said Iruka, becoming tearful. Iruka proceeded to tell Naruto about his parents dying against the fox and how he became the class clown to gain acknowledgement, before the third Hokage approached him and helped him see a new path he could follow which would still gain him acknowledgement, the path of hard work. What a touching scene, but I must be going now, so I'm going to need that scroll now, said Mizuki. Naruto was now enraged at Mizuki for tricking him and hurting Iruka, so he entered his initial Kyuubi form and growled, "If you ever lay a hand on my sensei again, I'll kill you." Mizuki, seeing the eyes of the fox, was momentarily taken aback but thought he could still beat Naruto. "Bring it on, Nine Tails," said Mizuki confidently. "Fine, you asked for it. Shadow Clone Jutsu," yelled Naruto. 5,000 solid clones of Naruto appeared all around Mizuki. Mizuki started panicking and tried to find a way out but couldn't. "Now you're going to pay for hurting Iruka-sensei," growled all the clones of Naruto. The clone army beat up Mizuki with pure taijutsu and didn't stop until he passed out from pain and blood loss. "Hee, guess I should have gone easy on him," said Naruto while grinning as he scratched the back of his head. "You did well, Naruto," said Iruka. Line break. Afterwards, Iruka told Naruto to close his eyes and when he opened them, he had on a leaf shinobi forehead protector and Iruka said, "Congratulations Naruto, you pass." Naruto was so happy he hugged Iruka-sensei and afterwards they went and ate ramen. Naruto went home that day happy for once, with the knowledge that someone cared about him. Line break. The third Hokage, having observed all of the night's events through a crystal ball, was now leaning back in his chair reflecting on his former successor, now predecessor, while smoking his pipe. "Truly Minato, you were a genius, to attune a technique to the point that it could only be used by your direct descendant through usage of their blood. Truly a genius," thought Hiruzen Sarutobi, as he glanced at the portrait depicting the visage of the fourth Hokage. Naruto awoke the next day happy. He had finally become a leaf shinobi and he was enjoying it. Naruto went back to the training ground he trained at before and decided to explore it a bit more. "Wow, I never noticed how cool this place looks," said Naruto aloud. He walked around the training ground which had lots of trees, a small lake, 3 stumps in a line near the lake, and a memorial stone. Naruto walked up to the stone and after a moment of silence looked around, because he felt someone's eyes on him. He looked around before his eyes settled on a particular area between 2 aging trees. He stared for a while before walking off to train. So that's Sensei's son. Guess the reports on him are wrong, thought a Junin named Kakashi Hatake. Line break. Naruto walked to his usual area surrounded by trees, before getting to work. First, he wrote down the seal sequence he wrote down before on a piece of paper with the ink he bought, mixed with a bit of his blood, which he got from cutting his hand open with a kunai before the fox healed it. He then wrapped the seal around the handle marker and stood up. Naruto walked over to a tree, then backed up until he stood 20 meters away from it and threw a kunai at it. Naruto disappeared in a flash of orange but only made it halfway. "Damn it!" shouted Naruto after futilely repeating this for 6 hours and not getting any better at it. "Kid, relax, this is a hard technique anyway. For now, do your daily taijutsu and kenjutsu practice and we will come back to this technique later," said Kyuubi calmly. "Sigh, okay," thought back Naruto, before he started his usual exercises. Line break. Naruto went and got his picture taken, which would be used to show people who want to give the Leaf Village missions what he looks like, or simply put, his identification picture. He considered taking an elaborate photo complete with face paint, but then decided against it and took a standard photo and handed it into the Hokage, who accepted it. As he was leaving, a boy with short spiky brown hair and black eyes charged in. He also had a small chip in his tooth and wore a yellow shirt with the symbol of the Leaf Village in red, gray shorts, and a long blue scarf. He also wore a gray helmet that had an orange frowning face on the right side, a red circle on the left side, and had a hole at the top for his hair to stick out of. His attempt to assassinate the Hokage in an effort to become the next Hokage was a failure as he tripped over his scarf. The third mumbled something about his grandson's 20th attempt to assassinate him, while Naruto with his fox hearing heard this and asked, "This is your grandson?" "Sigh yes Naruto, that's my grandson, Konohamaru," said Hiruzen Sarutobi the third Hokage. What happened?" asked Konohamaru. While somewhat dazed and confused from his fall, upon looking up he sees Naruto and instantly starts blaming him for tripping him. "Sigh I don't have the time for this, later Konohamaru," said Naruto with a tired voice. "What did you call me?" asked Konohamaru with an astonished face. "Konohamaru, that is your name, isn't it?" asked Naruto bluntly. "Yeah, but people don't normally call me that. They call me," said Konohamaru before he was interrupted by a cry. "Honorable grandson!" exclaimed Ebisu. Ebisu took one glance at Naruto and gave him those cold eyes thinking, the nine-tailed fox brat. Naruto recognized the stare as the one all the villagers gave him, so he turned and left. After he left, Konohamaru snuck away from Ebisu and followed Naruto. Naruto kept walking even though he knew that Konohamaru was behind him. He led them to a training ground with lots of trees then spoke up, "Konohamaru, why do you want to be the Hokage?" Konohamaru replied, "So people will see me as Konohamaru and not just the honorable grandson. My grandfather named me Konohamaru after the village so it should be easy to remember, but..." Konohamaru paused before continuing. "It's always honorable grandson, no one sees me as Konohamaru," finished Konohamaru in a depressed tone. Naruto smiled. "So am I no one?" asked Naruto, confusing Konohamaru. "Huh," replied Konohamaru. "I see you as Konohamaru, a proud member of the Leaf Village and one day a great ninja," said Naruto, as he finished with a smile. Konohamaru began sniffling in an attempt to hold back his tears of happiness. "But I'll tell you right now you aren't going to become Hokage just by wanting it, you need to do something about it," said Naruto calmly, which caused Konohamaru to look up angrily at Naruto. "What's that supposed to mean?" said Konohamaru as he stood up angrily. "The Hokage is the strongest in the entire village. Are you telling me that no one in this village can beat you in a fight? That you could beat every ninja in this village on your own even if they all teamed up against you?" finished Naruto, being serious for once. "No, but I figured that if I could beat Gramps," began Konohamaru before he broke off realizing that he probably couldn't even beat his teacher, Ebisu, and sat down depressed again. Now, don't be so down, you can still become Hokage," said Naruto, causing Konohamaru to look up again with hopeful eyes. "If you want to be Hokage, you need be really skilled, one very important skill to have is good chakra control. To have great chakra control you need to practice. One technique is to try to climb trees with only your chakra and feet while walking straight up the trunk," said Naruto. Konohamaru mumbled something about impossible, so Naruto climbed the tree and Konohamaru was stunned. "Konohamaru, there are no shortcuts to becoming Hokage, there is only one way to get there and that is the way you must take, the path of hard work. Also, one more thing, if you want to become Hokage, you're going to have to beat me in battle," said Naruto, his voice turning challenging at the end. Konohamaru said, "Whatever, I'm going to become Hokage and if you are in my way, that means we're rivals." Naruto chuckled and said, "Okay Konohamaru, I'll see you when you're ready and we will decide who is going to be the Hokage, later." Konohamaru's eyes burned with determination as he proceeded to train. "Just you wait, boss," thought Konohamaru. Line break. The next day. Line break. Naruto woke up and headed to the academy to meet his Junin instructor and his team. Naruto sat next to the empty seat next to Sasuke and proceeded to go into his mind and talk with Kyuubi. Hey Kyuubi, when are you going to teach me a powerful jutsu? I mean chakra control and sword slashes might help up to a certain point, but I need something to back them up. Whined Naruto. Okay, I guess it is time I teach you one. First place your hand on the wall over there and channel your chakra. It will help us find out your natural affinity, and jutsus which are of your natural affinity are the easiest to learn. Instructed Kyuubi. Naruto placed his hand on a wall which had the symbols of fire, wind, lighting, earth, and water in a circle. After a moment of channeling his chakra, the symbol for wind glowed. I guess wind is your natural affinity. Okay, the technique I'm going to get you to learn is the wind release, vacuum sword. It involves using your chakra and your sword to release a gust of wind which can stop projectiles and could probably be used to force opponents back if you put in enough chakra. This scroll should tell you how to do it. A scroll materialized at Naruto's feet, and he quickly memorized what to do. Says here if I focus my chakra enough, I could release a blade of wind instead of a gust. Cool. Okay, see you later Kyuubi. With that, Naruto left his mind. When he came back to the world, Sakura and Ino had just barged into the door. Naruto liked Sakura before he met Kyuubi, who opened his eyes to the truth, which was that all she talked about was Sasuke, and today was no exception, not to mention the fact that she was excessively violent. She ran straight up to the row where Naruto and Sasuke were sitting and ignored Naruto, paying only attention to Sasuke. Good morning, Sasuke, she said sweetly, only for Sasuke to not even bother responding to the greeting in the slightest. Naruto watched in amusement as all the other girls came and almost simultaneously started arguing over who gets to sit next to Sasuke, all ignoring Naruto. Sigh fangirls, said Naruto, almost feeling sorry for them. So troublesome, said someone who Naruto recognized. Hey Shikamaru, said Naruto. Naruto, how did you get here? Asked Shikamaru in surprise because he was sure Naruto had failed. Oh, well, I kind of stole the scroll of seals and learned the shadow clone jutsu. And something else, he thought but didn't say. Sigh, that's so troublesome. Why couldn't you have just passed the genin exam like everyone else? Said Shikamaru in a lazy drawl. Well, you see, I couldn't. Said Naruto, scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. At that moment, Iruka-sensei walked in and the fangirls settled down. Team 7 led by Kakashi Hatake includes Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. Sakura cheered while Naruto sighed and thought to himself, I wonder what Tenten is doing right now. After thinking this, Kyuubi started to laugh. Haha, has Kit got a mate in sight? Teased the fox. Shut up, demon fox, thought Naruto in annoyance, with a small blush at what Kyuubi was implying. Was that a personal thought? Don't tell me you are going into heat now. Mocked Kyuubi. Naruto resolved to ignore the fox so as to maintain his dignity. After the teams were announced, the students waited for their Junin instructors. Team 7 was left behind, waiting 3 hours after the time their instructor should have come. While they were waiting, Naruto took the moment to appraise his teammates. Sakura had bright pink hair, large green eyes, and fair skin. Sakura wore a red dress with white circular designs with sleeves and a zipper. She also wore a pair of tight dark green shorts and had her forehead protector tied up in her hair, resting on the top of her head. She was staring dreamily at Sasuke, not a care in the world. Sasuke had black hair with a blue tint and onyx eyes. His bangs hung on both sides of his face, roughly framing his cheeks, with his hair being spiky in the back. Sasuke's clothing consisted of a blue, short-sleeved shirt with a raised collar and the Uchiha crest on the back and white arm warmers, along with white shorts. He also wore a short blue-clothed forehead protector. He was almost completely absent to the world, staring off into space. Finally, a man wearing a mask and a leaf forehead protector covering his left eye, garbed in the standard leaf shinobi outfit, along with iron-plated gloves, appeared at the door. When he entered, Sakura emerged from her daydreaming and yelled, "You're late." My first impression of you guys is." He paused. "You're pathetic." He concluded in a bored tone. Naruto didn't take too kindly to this, so he quickly threw a shuriken at the Junin's head to see if he really was all that. Surprisingly, he caught it through the center using only his index finger and threw it back at Naruto, who then followed suit and caught it through the center as well, causing Sakura to gape at seeing masterful control of shuriken from the supposed dead last and Sasuke to raise an eyebrow. Kakashi's reaction was hidden, but he was happily surprised. "It was fun playing catch with you, sensei," said Naruto while grinning, causing Sakura and Sasuke to return to their normal expressions, annoyed and broody respectively. "Well, at least he isn't completely pathetic," thought Sasuke, while taking a discreet glance at Sakura, while mentally sighing. "See you upstairs," said Kakashi. Line break. On the roof, Kakashi was waiting for them to arrive and sit down. Once they sat down, he spoke, "My name is Kakashi Hatake and I'm your Junin instructor. Okay, tell me your name, your likes and dislikes, and your dreams for the future and hobbies." He finished in his bored tone. Sakura spoke up and asked, Sensei, can you go first so we can see what it should look like? Really, how hard can it be to give a little bio on yourself?" thought Kakashi, while mentally sighing. Kakashi obliged, albeit after a slight pause, and said, "My name is Kakashi Hatake. My likes, the fourth Hokage, make out paradise, and dislikes, fangirls and those who leave their comrades behind, I don't feel like telling you. My dreams, I never really thought about it, and as for my hobbies, I have lots of hobbies. Okay, now it's your turn. You in the orange, you're up," finished Kakashi before pointing to Naruto. Naruto perked up at this and spoke, "My likes are eating ramen with Iruka-sensei, ramen, and ninja training. I dislike waiting for ramen to cook, ignorant people who are blinded by stupidity and fangirls," snorted Naruto, sparing a brief side glance at Sakura. "My hobbies are eating ramen and comparing different types, exercising, playing pranks, and learning new jutsu, and my dream is to become the Hokage so the village will stop disrespecting me and have to acknowledge my existence, as well as being able to protect those important to me," finished Naruto, before sitting back down. Well, he has grown up in an interesting way, but it's good to see he likes ninja training and shows a surprising level of maturity and perception, if his dislike of ignorant people is any indication, thought Kakashi. "Okay, you're next, girly," said Kakashi. Sakura bristled at the comment but quickly got over it and started talking. "My likes, I mean, the person I like is," begun Sakura, before she looked at Sasuke and giggled. "My hobbies," said Sakura again, before she once again looked at Sasuke. "My dreams for the future are." She once again looked at Sasuke and squealed. "My dislikes are Naruto," shouted Sakura at the end. Naruto quite frankly couldn't care in the slightest and was reading over his jutsu scroll in his mind, while Kakashi was upset thinking that her thinking was more concerned about boys than ninja training. "Great, a fangirl," Kakashi inwardly sighed. Lastly, Sasuke spoke, "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I hate a lot of things and don't particularly like anything. I don't have a dream, because I will make it a reality. I'm going to restore my clan and destroy a certain someone," finished Sasuke in his dark tone. Naruto thought, "I wonder who he is talking about. Great, a dark, moody avenger," thought Kakashi with a sigh. "Sasuke is so hot," said the pink-clad girl. Kakashi then spoke up and told them what they were going to do tomorrow. "Tomorrow we are going to be doing a survival test because out of the 27 academy graduates, only 9 will become genin and the rest will be sent back to the academy. Oh, did I forget to mention that your chances of failing are 66% and that you shouldn't eat breakfast because if you do, you'll puke," finished Kakashi, with a deceptively cheerful-looking eye smile. All were intrigued at the odds but didn't say anything. After that, Kakashi dismissed them and told them to meet at 5 a.m. sharp at Training Ground 7. Naruto went back to his newly dubbed personal training ground and started to practice the wind release, vacuum sword technique, which involved a lot of swinging, but Naruto found nothing happened. "Hey Fox, why isn't this working?" asked Naruto aloud, seeing as he was alone. "Well, you need to learn how to manipulate wind chakra first, obviously," said the fox, who was shocked at Naruto's stupidity. "Exactly how was I supposed to know that?" deadpanned Naruto. "Make 1,000 clones and have them all attempt to mold wind chakra and tear a leaf in half," finished the fox, ignoring Naruto's comment. "You got it," said Naruto, who made 1,000 clones and spent 4 hours trying to split leaves until they finally succeeded. "Yay!" shouted Naruto happily. Naruto then tried wind release, vacuum sword, and actually produced a wave of wind. "Alright, let's see how much damage this does," said Naruto, before he stood in front of a tree. He held the sword in a horizontal position and then lunged forward and swung his sword forward. "Wind release. Vacuum sword," called Naruto. A blade of wind chakra came out in the length of his sword and slashed into the tree, leaving a gash 10 centimeters deep. "Wow, awesome," shouted Naruto, although it didn't cut too deeply. I guess I need to focus on concentrating the chakra to increase its ability to cut," said Naruto out loud. He practiced for another 2 hours until he was able to form either a gust of wind, or a sharp blade of wind, before doing the cat as the fox told him. After 8 hours of solid practice, he mastered the technique in the katas. Since he was tired, he left quickly and didn't notice a Junin who had been watching him train. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke arrived at the training grounds at 5 a.m. The training grounds, Naruto noticed, was the one he had been training at. What a coincidence, thought Naruto, bemused before sitting against a tree. Sakura once again ignored Naruto and attempted to get Sasuke's attention. Sasuke was eyeing Naruto due to what he saw yesterday, while Naruto used the time to meditate and in doing so, blocked out Sakura and Sasuke. Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto waited for 3 hours when Kakashi finally arrived. "Hey, you're late," yelled Sakura. Sakura's shout alerted Naruto to Kakashi's presence, so he promptly threw a wind chakra enhanced kunai at Kakashi. It tore through Kakashi, who had a shocked expression on his face before a puff of smoke surrounded him and a pierced log with a kunai-sized hole in it fell to the ground. Naruto turned around and threw another kunai at a seemingly random tree. "You know, Kakashi, you are starting to make me dislike those who are late," said Naruto calmly, while looking at the leaves of the tree which he previously threw his kunai at. "Oh, sorry, but a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long way around," said Kakashi, as he dropped down from the tree. No one bought his excuse and just looked at him with a set of skeptical, annoyed stares, with Naruto adding a slight growl in. Shrugging off the glares easily, Kakashi then moved on to the reason they were even out here in the first place. "Okay then, the exercise is to get these 2 bells from me by noon. If you don't get a bell, you go without lunch and you will be sent back to the academy," said Kakashi, oblivious to Naruto's anger. "So that's why he told us not to eat breakfast," thought Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke. A ninja must see through deception. Although it was fun to make you skip breakfast. "Ready, begin," announced Kakashi, causing all of the genin to quickly hide in the bushes. Line break. After a few minutes with no one moving, Kakashi decided to make his move. Kakashi appeared behind Sakura and tapped her on the shoulder. "Hey Sakura," whispered Kakashi, which caused Sakura to turn around. "Demonic illusion. Death mirage jutsu," said the form of Kakashi, which then vanished in a swirl of leaves. Sakura's eyes became heavy, and she started feeling tired. Sakura," said Sasuke. "Sasuke," squealed Sakura, before she turned around and saw a mutilated Sasuke. He had his left leg dislocated and pointing backwards with heaps of kunai and shuriken sticking out of him all over his body, with blood steadily falling out of his mouth. Sakura, please help me, croaked out Sasuke. Sakura then screamed and fainted while Kakashi thought, despite her test scores, she couldn't see through the most basic genjutsu. Naruto and Sasuke didn't really care about why Sakura screamed, but they assumed that Kakashi did it, so she wasn't dead. Hey Fox, how am I going to get a bell? Thought Naruto. You could always try combing your techniques together, suggested Kyuubi. Okay, I know what to do, thought back Naruto after some deliberation. Line break. Naruto then walked around and found Kakashi near the lake. Oh sensei, I think it's time I give you a bit of incentive to stop being late, said Naruto in a sickly sweet voice. Shadow clone jutsu, said Naruto, as he made his cross hand sign and created 10 clones. Attack, shouted the real Naruto. 2 charged Kakashi with their swords and each gave a horizontal strike, one from left to right, and the other from right to left. Kakashi jumped up and threw down 2 shuriken, but this is what Naruto expected. One more clone jumped down with both of his hands held together to give a clasped double-fisted hand strike and swung it at Kakashi's head. Kakashi anticipated this, so the clone ended up cracking a log instead, which Kakashi seamlessly swapped with. Kakashi then appeared in front of the clones, but 20 meters back from where he substituted. Damn it, he's good, thought Naruto. Naruto went for one last-ditch effort and charged with all his clones following suit in a circular formation, as all of them tried to cut Kakashi down with their swords, with a diagonal sword slash from top right to bottom left. Kakashi was slashed and instead of oozing blood, disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Damn, I can't believe him, he's good. I better get some help, thought Naruto, before he walked around, looking for Sasuke, as Sakura wouldn't be able to help for obvious reasons. Line break. Naruto found Sasuke fighting with Kakashi, and when he used fire style, fireball jutsu, he made his move. Naruto threw 12 three-pronged kunai about 2 meters apart from each other in a close-knit circle around Kakashi and then made 12 shadow clones who flashed halfway to each kunai and engaged Kakashi in a taijutsu battle. He then went out to grab Sasuke to tell him his plan. Naruto jumped back with him into some trees a fair distance away. Hey, Sasuke, I know you don't like me, and I don't particularly like you, but I want to pass, so I need your help, said Naruto quietly. Sasuke thought about it and realized that if him and Naruto worked together, they might be able to get both bells, as Naruto had recently been surprising him. Fine, Sasuke conceded, after a brief moment of deliberation. Line break. Kakashi was waiting for them to make a move and was reading Makeout Paradise. Seems like they are working together, thought Kakashi, feeling both boys approach him. Sasuke jumped out of the bushes and threw kunai and shuriken until he got Kakashi within the space Naruto's 12 kunai had made before. He then jumped back onto a branch on a nearby tree, ready to attack Kakashi if he tried to escape, and said, "Now Naruto." 12 more shadow clones flashed halfway to the kunai and surrounded Kakashi. They then all drew their katanas. All right, ready? Asked one clone, with all the others replying in the affirmative. All shadow clones charged at Kakashi 2 at a time, using wind release, vacuum sword, opting to make gusts of winds rather than blades, and after they did it, using the flying thunder god technique to get away from Kakashi's counter, before using wind release, vacuum sword again, and eventually trapped Kakashi in a swirling tornado. I don't believe this. How could a mere genin know how to use the fourth's most famous technique? It's unbelievable, even if he hasn't mastered it yet, thought Kakashi. At this point, Sakura had found where they were fighting and couldn't believe what she was seeing. Since when was Naruto this good? He couldn't even do a simple clone jutsu at the academy, she thought in surprise. Now Sasuke, yelled Naruto, jumping away from the tornado. Sasuke made the hand signs and used fire style, fireball jutsu at the base of the tornado and it became a flaming tornado. Unfortunately, the Kakashi that was trapped in the tornado turned out to be a shadow clone, which was revealed when it disappeared in a puff of smoke. Oh crap, thought Naruto, before there was a shout. Earth style. Headhunter jutsu. Said Kakashi from underground, before he pulled Naruto and Sasuke into the ground up to their heads. Well, nice try, but you'll have to do better than that to beat me. I am a Junin after all. Said Kakashi and his clone, which had pulled down Naruto and Sasuke respectively. Ha, and you shouldn't underestimate us. Said Naruto, as he puffed into smoke, while a kunai came out of a tree and struck the Kakashi clone. Naruto quickly jumped down from the tree, jammed both his fists into the ground with brute force, pulled Sasuke out by his shoulders and ran away. Kakashi's sweat dropped at this while thinking, well, he countered the jutsu. I guess despite how crude the method was. Line break. Man, that was close. Said Naruto. It was your fault. You gave him too much time to make a substitution. Said Sasuke. What? Are you serious? It was probably your slow fireball that gave him the chance to escape. Retorted Naruto angrily. Sasuke went to open his mouth, but Naruto put his hand over him, effectively silencing him, much to his annoyance. Okay, forget all that. When we were fighting him, he looked really surprised when we did those moves. So, what I'm thinking is he will expect us to rush him with jutsu, so we will charge at him with pure taijutsu. I'll hit him high, you hit him low. Deal. Said Naruto as he uncovered Sasuke's mouth. Sasuke liked the plan, but he was going to be the one to get the last word. I'll hit him high, you hit him low. Said Sasuke, before he walked off. Sai always has to get the last word in. Mumbled Naruto, before he followed the Uchiha. Line break. They have almost showed just enough teamwork to pass. Looks like I'm getting a team this year. Mused Kakashi. Hey Kakashi. Said Sasuke as he stood alone, keeping a distance of about 5 meters from Kakashi. Or not. Thought Kakashi. Yes Sasuke. Said Kakashi, giving an eye smile. I'm taking those bells. Said Sasuke, before he rushed him. Sasuke went for a right roundhouse, which Kakashi blocked with his left arm. Sasuke then leaned back and brought his left arm around for a hook which was also blocked, this time by Kakashi's right hand. Sasuke then went for a jab straight to Kakashi's face with his right, which Kakashi blocked by bringing both his hands together. Got him, said Sasuke, as he let go with his left hand and reached for the bells. He just managed to touch one, causing it to jingle, at which point Kakashi pushed him away. This kid is something else. Thought Kakashi, before he promptly dodged a sweep kick by jumping back. Got you now, said Naruto, as he followed up his sweep kick with a right uppercut. Kakashi hooked Naruto's arm with his left and flung him away over his shoulder. Sasuke waited for the release and charged back at Kakashi with a right jab. Kakashi spun and blocked with his right arm and threw Sasuke away in the direction opposite of Naruto. Kakashi waited for a moment before two shadows appeared above him. Sasuke and Naruto both slammed down with an axe kick on Kakashi's shoulders before he turned into a log which was smashed into splinters. Two clones of Kakashi snuck up behind Naruto and Sasuke and were about to use 1,000 years of death on both Sasuke and Naruto. Sakura, who had been waiting before, managed to get him away from both by throwing two kunai. Both of the clones were hit and disappeared in a cloud of smoke. All three of them were looking around when they saw both bells in the center of where the shattered log was. They all jumped to them, and all came to the same conclusion. 3 people and only 2 bells. What do we do? Asked Naruto. Kakashi was behind a tree waiting to see what they would do. Well, you two are the ones who made him drop them. So gulp, you guys should take them. Said Sakura reluctantly. Yeah, but Sakura, you are the one who stopped him from hitting us both with that last technique, so you should get one as well," said Naruto. Sasuke spoke up after a moment. "Listen, there are 3 of us and 2 bells, right?" Sakura and Naruto nodded. "So that means one of us has to fail," concluded Sasuke. Sakura then remembered what Kakashi had said. "Not necessarily. Didn't he say a ninja must see through deception?" asked Sakura, to which Sasuke and Naruto nodded. "So maybe this was a test in the test," concluded Sakura. "Yeah, you're right, so maybe the purpose of this test was to see if we could work together as a team, rather than actually getting the bells," said Naruto. As Naruto said this, there was the sound of clapping. "Very good, Naruto, that was the purpose of this test," said Kakashi, walking towards them. "The chances of 3 genin beating a Junin are much better than 1 genin on his or her own, which is why I set up this test. Its purpose was to see if you could work together even though one of you may fail," continued Kakashi, standing in front of his 3 genin. "In ninja missions, those who break the rules are scum, that is true, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. Now there is only one more thing to say. You all pass. Team 7 will have its first mission tomorrow." As he finished saying this, a Junin appeared and spoke to Kakashi. Kakashi nodded and then spoke. "Okay, the rest of the day is yours, but Naruto, I want you to wait for a minute." Sasuke walked off, while Sakura quickly followed and tried to get a date. Line break. "So Naruto, I take it you don't know who this person is, do you?" asked Kakashi, to which Naruto shook his head. "Well, in that case, let me introduce you to Hayate Gecko, one of the best swordsmen in the Hidden Leaf Village. Apparently, he saw you using a sword at this training ground yesterday afternoon and he seems to think you have potential, so he has volunteered to teach you Kenjutsu," finished Kakashi. "Really? Wow. Thanks a lot, Hayate-sensei," said Naruto happily. "So Naruto, are you willing to give up 2 hours after all of your missions to allow me to train you?" asked the sickly special Junin. Hayate had short brown hair and dark eyes with protruding bags. He had pronounced lines under his eyes, as well as an unexplained chronic cough that plagued him. He wore the standard leaf shinobi outfit complete with a forehead protector that he wore as a bandana, flak jacket, and regular shinobi sandals. He also carried a katana with a rectangular hand guard strapped over his back. "Sure. I wouldn't mind at all," said Naruto eagerly, excited at the prospect of learning from a master. "Okay, so Naruto, after you finish your missions, meet Hayate here at Training Ground 7 for sword training every day, at 3 p.m. sharp," said Kakashi. "No problem," said Naruto, saluting. "In that case, you're dismissed for now," said Kakashi, with his patented eye smile. Naruto left and headed to the Ichiraku ramen shop for lunch, as he had skipped breakfast, and it was now noon and therefore didn't hear what Kakashi and Hayate were talking about. "Does he really have that much potential in Kenjutsu?" asked Kakashi seriously. "Yes, he was using a style similar to the Demon Fox style cough, which is very difficult to learn," said Hayate just as seriously. "You don't think he can talk to the fox, do you?" asked Kakashi with a concerned undertone. "I think so, otherwise there is no way he could have known it," said Hayate. "Very well, I'll tell the Hokage," finished Kakashi, and a moment later both left the training field in a body fair, leaving only a clump of leaves behind. Line break. Naruto was walking to Ichiraku when he bumped into someone. Said person turned around and that person turned out to be Tenten. "Oops. Sorry, Tenten," said Naruto. "Oh, hey Naruto, don't worry about it," she replied easily with a small smile. "Hey Tenten, guess who my Junin sensei is?" asked Naruto. "Who?" asked Tenten. "It's Kakashi *MMPH. Naruto couldn't finish because Tenten had covered his mouth with her hand. "Don't say that so loud, someone might hear you," Tenten whispered, hoping nothing would happen, but unfortunately, someone had heard. "Kakashi, you say. You know that Kakashi and I are said to be eternal rivals. Said a man. The man was tall and well built with high cheekbones, thick eyebrows, and black hair cut in a bowl style. He also wore a green jumpsuit, orange striped leg warmers and the standard leaf flak jacket, though it was unzipped. His forehead protector was on a red cloth and was worn around his waist, like a belt. Who are you? Asked Naruto, after Tenten reluctantly removed her hand. Me, I'm the Leaf Village's sublime green beast of prey, Might Guy. Said Guy flashing his nice guy pose. At that moment, another, Mini Guy, appeared and started talking to Guy. Guy Sensei, I did it. 500 laps around the village in under an hour. Said the Mini Guy. Nice work, Lee, said Guy, once again flashing his nice guy pose. Hey, Tenten, who are these guys? Asked Naruto in a whisper. Sai, they are my teammate and sensei. She replied. Naruto was about to start laughing, but saw she was serious, so repressed his laughter and patted her on the shoulder. You poor girl, said Naruto sadly. What is your name? Naruto asked the Mini Guy. My name is Rock Lee, said Lee, giving a nice guy pose, which consisted of sticking out his right hand, thumb extended, while flashing a smile, with his right eye closed. The light seemed to make his teeth flash to the point that Naruto was almost blinded. Lee possessed very thick eyebrows and large, rounded black eyes, with prominent lower eyelashes. His hair was cut and styled into a bowl cut style like Guy. He also wore the same attire, consisting of a green jumpsuit, orange leg warmers, and a red forehead protector worn as a belt. The only difference between the two concerning their attire were the bandages Lee wore around his hands and wrists and his lack of a flak jacket. Naruto twitched at the resemblance and then remembered his manners. Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you my name yet. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto smiling. Guy noticed the bulge around Naruto's ankles and wrists and asked, Are you wearing training weights? Naruto nodded and both Lee and Guy got flames in their eyes and started saying, That's the way, let the power of youth explode. Tenten, trying to shift the conversation away from the power of youth, turned to Naruto, So how much are they up to now? Asked Tenten, genuinely curious. Oh, the wrist and ankle weights are up to 50 each and the vest is on 100. As Naruto said this, Tenten's jaw dropped. But you were only at 5 and 20 last week, how did you improve so quickly? Tenten asked, amazed. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Guess I'm just awesome, said Naruto, smiling at the end. HMPH, awesome, thanks to my power giving you accelerated healing. Grumbled Kyuubi. Lee and Guy heard this and then made a challenge. We must not let our flames of youth diminish, Lee, shouted Guy. Yes, Guy Sensei. Let us do 500 laps around the village on our hands in 1 hour, and if we cannot do this, then I will do 1,000 push-ups. Shouted back Lee. That's the way, Lee. I too will do 1,000 push-ups if we do not get around the village in half an hour. Shouted Guy, before he took off with Lee following. After they left, Tenten was going to leave, so Naruto quickly asked, Hey Tenten, do you want to get some ramen with me? Tenten thought for a moment and then said, Sure. With a smile. Line break. At Ichiraku, Naruto was telling Tenten about the test they had to do to become official genin. Wow, Kakashi sounds tough, but at least you passed, said Tenten. Yeah, I guess. So, what's the deal with your teammates? Asked Naruto, still thinking about what he saw moments ago. Well, Lee and Guy are both a bit, how can I put this nicely? Started Tenten, before pausing as she tried to find the right words. Training obsessed is probably the best way to put it. My other teammate is a boy named Neji Hyuga, who is obsessed with his clan and destiny. Finished Tenten. Wow, you have an obsessive team. What about you? Asked Naruto in between slurps of his noodles. Me. Well, I guess you could say I am obsessed with weapons, said Tenten. Well, I'll keep that in mind, but if you don't mind me saying, That's a much better thing to be obsessed with, although the training obsession doesn't seem so bad. Or maybe it's better because you're the one obsessed with them, said Naruto, as he flashed her a smile. Hey told you, you like her, said the fox. So you've said. Shesh fox, you got your point across, what do you want, a medal? Thought back Naruto sarcastically. Grr insolent brat, grumbled Kyuubi, before going silent. Naruto looked at Tenten and thought he saw a slight blush, but figured he was just seeing things. I wonder if he meant that. Does he like me? Thought Tenten, who actually had blushed, not often on the receiving end of any praise other than Lee and Guy's exuberant encouragement. They both finished their meals and Naruto paid with his vouchers for both of them. They walked outside and said goodbye. Thanks for lunch Naruto, said Tenten. No problem Tenten, and if I see any rare weapons, I'll be thinking of you. Heck, I might even bring you back one from my missions. He replied. As he started walking off, he again realized what he said and how it could have been interpreted. That was priceless, you should see your face. You're practically already trying to make her your mate, although I don't think she would mind very much either, said the fox, almost crying from laughter. Shut up fox, we are not talking about this anymore, thought Naruto, who found he actually didn't mind the idea, but was getting annoyed with the Kyuubi's constant input. Sure, whatever you say, replied the fox with a grin, thoroughly enjoying the chance to rile up his container in a new manner, since he had stopped affecting his chakra. Naruto went home and got ready for bed. That night, the fox decided to shape Naruto's dream and made him dream about something that Naruto said they weren't talking about. Well, all he said was, we weren't going to talk about it. He never said I couldn't do anything else, thought the fox with an evil smile, before he curled up and went to sleep. Line break. Stupid fox. Those were the first words Naruto spoke upon waking up that morning. He had been subjected to an interesting dream, namely the dream Kyuubi put in his head of him kissing Tenten for what to him seemed like ages. You're one sad lonely fox, thought Naruto. Sure, I'm the pervert, then again, I don't hear you complaining about what you saw. Maybe I should make you dream about kissing that Uchiha, suggested Kyuubi, trying to rattle Naruto. If you do that, I will work out a way to summon you with less than half a single tail of power, beat you to a pulp, let you return back to the cage and then repeat, threatened Naruto. The fox didn't respond, and Naruto took that as the fox giving in for the moment. Naruto then got out of bed and did his usual morning activities and training, before he went to meet up with his team for today's mission, weeding a garden. I can't believe this is a mission, thought Naruto. Line break. After his mission, Naruto went to practice kenjutsu with Hayate. Naruto, the style I'm going to train you in is called the crescent moon style, said Hayate, before proceeding to explain the style. The crescent moon style involved crescent-shaped blade movements and deception using clones, which Naruto picked up quickly. Naruto followed this routine for a week and a half and was now reasonably good with a sword that he could make Hayate sweat for his victory, largely in part due to the fact he could make far more than 2 clones. Line break. On the day of what would have been their 11th D-ranked mission, Naruto and Sasuke, although the latter would never admit it, had enough. Hey old man, when are you going to give us a real mission? Asked Naruto, his disdain for D missions clearly showing. How dare you? You are just a lowly genin with no experience, that's why you have to do D-rank missions to gain experience, yelled Iruka in annoyance. Seriously, experience? What on earth are we learning from painting a fence? I'm not a little kid anymore, I'm a ninja, and I want a real ninja mission. Besides, these D-rank missions are just simple chores, with the only exception being we get paid for doing them, said Naruto in exasperation. The Hokage thought about it for a moment, before making up his mind. Very well, Naruto, I'm going to give your team a C-rank mission, bodyguard duty. Send in the client, said Hiruzen. At this proclamation, a gray-haired, bespectacled man, with a large beard and dark eyes entered the room. He was wearing a sleeveless V-neck shirt with an obi, pants, and a pair of sandals. He also carried a towel around his neck and wore a pointed hat on his head. I asked for bodyguards, and I get 3 kids, said the man with a slight slur to his words. Who are you? Asked Sakura. I'm Tazuna, a master bridge builder, and I need to get back to my hometown safely, and I expect you to protect me, even if it costs you your lives, said the newly named Tazuna. Line break. After packing and meeting at the village gate, Team 7 and Tazuna headed out and journeyed to the land of waves. The group walked past a puddle when Kyuubi spoke to Naruto. Hey kid, that was no puddle, there are 2 ninja hiding in that, it's an illusion, said Kyuubi seriously. Thanks for the heads up, replied Naruto, just as seriously. Suddenly, the 2 ninja emerged from the puddle when the group had walked past it. One had shoulder-length, wild dark brown hair, and dark eyes. He wore a breathing mask that covered the lower half of his face, and a large, clawed, poisonous gauntlet on his right arm, which had a chain coming out of it that had the other end attached to his partner's own gauntlet. He wore a camouflage suit with bandages around his waist, dark-colored, knee-length sandals, and a ragged black cape. He had a forehead protector which depicted 4 wavy lines in a square shape, with a single horn on it. The other looked identical to his partner, but his forehead protector had 2 horns instead of 1. They charged Kakashi on both sides and wrapped their gauntlet chains around Kakashi, before shredding him to pieces. That's 1 down, said the one with a single horn on his forehead protector. They then charged, one after Naruto, the other after Tazuna. Naruto jumped back a bit, unsheathed his sword, and threw it in the middle of a link in both chains, which trapped them to a tree. Sasuke then jumped on top of their gauntlets and pulled them forward by their gauntlets, causing them to stumble, at which point he kicked out, hitting both with a kick to the face. They recovered quickly and then both charged at Tazuna, as well as Sakura, who was defending the bridge builder. They were about to reach them when they were suddenly held in a chokehold by Kakashi, who was completely unharmed. Good work everyone, very efficient, said Kakashi with a smile. Well, it took you long enough, joked Naruto. Well, I had to find out who their target was, said Kakashi smiling. He then became serious. Tazuna, we need to talk, he said in a stern voice. Line break. The 2 ninja were quickly tied to a tree, after which Kakashi spoke to his team. They are Chunin from the village hidden in the mist. How did you know about our ambush? The single-horned one asked in a raspy voice. A puddle, on a sunny day, when it hasn't rained in weeks, I could have stopped you there, but I wanted to see who your target was. Ninja attacking ninja, or ninja attacking the master bridge builder. Tazuna, in your mission request you asked for standard protection from bandits and highwaymen, you didn't say you had ninja after you. If we had known this, this would be an A-rank mission and we would have staffed differently and charged accordingly. As of now, we are beyond the scope of this mission, finished Kakashi. We are genin, this is too advanced for us, said Sakura in what she hoped was a comforting manner. No, said Naruto. Everyone looked at him in surprise, both for how calmly he had spoken and the fact that all he had said was a single word. Noticing he now had everyone's attention, Naruto continued on. This is the first real mission we have ever gotten and there is no way we are going to give it up, said Naruto strongly. I'm with the loser, said Sasuke, shocking everyone. Why are you with yourself, Sasuke? Asked Naruto, feigning ignorance. Sasuke just scoffed and turned away. Well, I guess I'm in as well then, said Sakura, with a small smile. Okay, we continue with our mission then. However, all of you need to keep up your guard because the next enemy may be a Junin, said Kakashi sternly. All 3 of them nodded, before they set out again. Line break. After taking a boat for a while, They arrived in the land of waves and then continued walking once they were on land. After walking through a densely tree-populated area for a while, Naruto felt something, or someone, was watching them. Suddenly, a massive blade flew through the air at them, moments away from beheading them. "Look out!" warned Kakashi, causing all three to duck, with Kakashi dragging Tazuna down. The large blade thudded into a tree, remaining stuck midway into the trunk. Seconds later, a ninja was seen standing on the impaled blade. He was shirtless, with his chest only covered by a belt over his torso, to which he likely attached his massive blade. He was also wearing baggy pants with the striped pattern typical of the village, hidden in the mist, and mimetic wrist warmers extending up to his elbows, with matching leg warmers. He was tall and noticeably muscular, with pale skin, short spiky black hair, brown eyes, and small eyebrows. He wore bandages like a mask over the bottom half of his face, with his forehead protector sideways on his head. His forehead protector was identical to the protectors of the previous group of ninja, only minus the horns. Kakashi spoke. "Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist." "Kakashi Hatake of the Sharingan Eye," replied the man coolly. Both stared off until Sakura decided to ask, "What is the Sharingan?" Sharingan. It is a powerful dojutsu which enables the user to instantly analyze and copy any ninjutsu, taijutsu, or genjutsu. It is a feared bloodline ability which only a few Uchihas have mastered. Said Sasuke. "However, how does Kakashi have one? As far as I know, he isn't an Uchiha." "That is correct, Sasuke," said Kakashi, while lifting up his forehead protector, revealing his Sharingan. "Kakashi of the Sharingan Eye, or as you are listed in our bingo book, the man who copied over 1,000 jutsu. I'm here for the bridge builder," said Zabuza. "Team, protect the bridge builder, Manji formation," Kakashi ordered. Instantly, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke surround the bridge builder on the front and both sides. Zabuza jumped onto the water and said, "Hidden mist jutsu." Suddenly, a deep mist covered him and hid him from view. No one could see him, and then he spoke. 8 points. Larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular vein, subclavian artery, kidneys, and heart. "Now, which one should be my kill point?" he said with a heavily sadistic voice, bloodlust washing over the group. There was silence, and then in the next moment, Zabuza appeared in between the genin and bridge builder. Kakashi disappeared a moment later and in an instant, had stabbed Zabuza with a kunai to the stomach. Water dripped out of the wound, and then a second Zabuza appeared behind Kakashi, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. "Sensei, watch out," yelled Naruto. "It's over," said Zabuza, while swinging his blade at Kakashi's midsection. Kakashi turned into water when the blade sliced through him, and as he did, Zabuza's eyes widened. "He saw through my move and copied my water clone jutsu instantly," thought the renowned assassin, before feeling a kunai pressed against his throat. "Now it's over," said Kakashi. Despite Kakashi's words, however, it wasn't, as Zabuza swung his sword back, causing Kakashi to move away so as to not be cut in half. Zabuza used this moment and landed a solid kick to Kakashi's face, sending him into the water. As he emerged, he had a thought. The water is denser than normal water, oh no. At that moment, Zabuza was upon him, and before he could react, Zabuza said, "Water style, water prison jutsu." Due to the small slip-up, Kakashi was now trapped in a spherical dome of water. "This prison is made of water, but it's harder than steel. You won't escape this, Kakashi," said Zabuza. "Run," Kakashi said to his team, but Naruto had other ideas. "Sorry Kakashi-sensei, but this guy thinks he is a demon. Well, I'm going to show him that he doesn't even come close to being a demon. Don't worry though, I'll make this quick," said Naruto, before he looked up and leveled a pair of red slitted eyes on Zabuza. "Water clone jutsu," said Zabuza. "Shadow clone jutsu," said Naruto. 5 clones of Zabuza and Naruto appeared. Kid, you just made a big mistake in facing me, said all the clones of Zabuza, before going through a string of hand signs and saying, water style, water dragon jutsu. The clones of Naruto and the original all threw one of their three-pronged kunai and flashed away from the dragons, even though they didn't reach the kunai, as they still got out of range of the water dragons. What? It's impossible, said Zabuza, shocked at the evasion, and as a result, didn't see that all of the Naruto clones, as well as the original Naruto, were behind him. They drew their swords and directed some of Kyuubi's chakra into the blade before they each swung the blade in a crescent moon slice. Demonic crescent, they all shouted, which caused 6 crescent-shaped blades of Kyuubi's chakra to charge at Zabuza. Each crescent was aimed at a part of Zabuza, 1 for each of his arms and legs and 2 for his head. Knowing he had no choice, Zabuza moved his hand out of the water prison and jumped away, releasing Kakashi, and in doing so, saving himself from decapitation. The real Naruto then pounced on Zabuza and nailed him with a right hook across his face and followed up with a side kick to his solar plexus, sending him towards Kakashi. Sensei, I'll let you take it from here, said Naruto, releasing the fox's chakra, with his eyes returning to normal. Zabuza and Kakashi faced each other and started doing hand signs in perfect symmetry. When they finished, they both shouted, water style, water dragon jutsu. The dragons rose into the air and attacked each other, with the result being both were destroyed. At this, both charged at the other, Zabuza with his blade held out to his right, and Kakashi with a kunai with the point facing down next to his left thigh. Both blades meet and Kakashi was being overpowered. Darn, not enough, thought Kakashi, before he pulled out another kunai, which he pressed against the one he was already holding to augment its strength against Zabuza's massive blade. It was now a stalemate, with neither gaining the advantage over the other, so both jumped back. They once again started doing hand signs, but Zabuza hesitated as he begun to see himself next to Kakashi. Kakashi continued his hand signs until he finished and said, water style, giant vortex jutsu. What? Impossible. How could he finish the jutsu before me? Thought Zabuza in shock. Zabuza didn't even have a chance to raise a defense and was thrown against a tree. Kakashi then threw 4 kunai, pining Zabuza's limbs to the tree, eliciting a grunt of pain from Zabuza. Kakashi then appeared on the tree branch near Zabuza's head. But how? Can you see the future? Zabuza asked shakily, as he inclined his head up to see Kakashi. Yes, and your future is death, replied Kakashi. As Kakashi finished saying this, 2 Senbon needles flew through the air and pierced Zabuza in the neck, who gave a pained yell before his body became limp. Well, you were right, his future was death, said a voice. The owner of the voice was standing on a tree branch and had a slender frame and was also quite short for his apparent age. His outfit consisted of a moss green, striped turtleneck sweater, and a split skirt in matching color that reached down to his knees. On the outside of that, he wore a greenish-blue short kimono with white edges, and around his waist a greenish-brown obi, in the same fabric as his sweater, with a fringed trail. He also wore light brown platoon sandals with straps in the same color as his kimono and nail polish on his fingernails and toenails in matching blue-green color. His long hair was gathered in a white bun holder, tied with a greenish-blue string, while 2 locks of his hair fell loose, framing his face, bound with metal hair cuffs at the ends. He was wearing a hunter ninja mask on his face, which was white, with thin, curved eyeholes, and a red wavy design in place of the mouth, as well as the same symbol seen on the Demon Brothers and Zabuza's forehead protectors on the forehead of his mask. I thank you for weakening Zabuza. I have been hunting him for some time now, and now I can finally destroy the secrets of our village that are hidden in this body. The boy disappeared and reappeared near Zabuza's body, quickly slinging one arm over his shoulder. Thank you, said the boy, before he vanished, taking Zabuza with him. Okay, well, let's get going, guys. said Kakashi as he covered his Sharingan eye once again and with that, promptly passed out. Kakashi was still exhausted when he regained consciousness and found he was lying on a mattress, in what he correctly assumed was Tezuna's house. After using his Sharingan for an extended period of time, he had used up too much chakra and was suffering from chakra exhaustion. Team 7 was gathered around Kakashi when Kakashi spoke. I think Zabuza is alive. What? Screamed Sakura in fear. Sakura, how does a tracker ninja dispose of a body? Asked Kakashi. Tracker ninja destroy the body as quickly and efficiently as possible, recited Sakura, before her eyes widened slightly. Exactly. Also, the weapons he used were Senbon needles which stun and hardly ever kill, unless they strike a vital organ, none of which are in the neck. Therefore, based on this evidence, I think it's safe to say he wasn't trying to kill Zabuza, but was trying to save him. Concluded Kakashi. So what do we do now? Asked Naruto in a level tone. Well, I'm no condition to fight right now, so I think it's time I trained you three a bit more, said Kakashi, while giving his patented eye smile. Line break. Team 7 had journeyed outside and walked into an area laden with trees. After traveling a certain distance into the woods, Kakashi stopped and turned to face his genin. Okay, the exercise I am going to teach you now is the tree walking exercise. To do this, you build up chakra in the soles of your feet and simply walk up the tree, said Kakashi, who then proceeded to demonstrate walking up the tree using only his chakra. While Sasuke and Sakura were surprised, Naruto had a look of indifference on his face. Kakashi saw this and wondered why Naruto wasn't surprised. Naruto, have you seen this exercise before? He asked. Naruto shook his head and replied, no, I can do it though. Naruto then walked up the tree as well to the amazement of his teammates, while Kakashi merely raised an eyebrow. I can also walk on water, he stated in a bored tone. Okay then, here is the plan. Sasuke and Sakura, you two climb the trees and mark where you get up to with these kunai, said Kakashi while throwing down 2 kunai. Naruto, you come with me. Naruto and Kakashi walked off until Kakashi stopped and asked Naruto an important question. Naruto, do you know anything about what happened in the village 15 years ago, or how it may affect you? Asked Kakashi cautiously. Well, Kakashi-sensei, I assume you are talking about Kyuubi. Kakashi's eye widened, as he did not expect Naruto to know about that. How do you know about that? He asked. Well, on my 15th birthday he spoke to me and gave me a gift. He allowed me to use his chakra and sign the summoning contract for foxes. In exchange he gained access to my senses and thoughts and can now speak to me at will, but I can still block him out if I want to. Finished Naruto. Kakashi composed himself before speaking. So this means you have access to a large amount of chakra, right? Asked Kakashi, to which Naruto nodded. Okay then, before I get on to what I want to, I have to ask for the safety of the village, can you control it? Said Kakashi, with the most seriousness Naruto had ever seen. Yeah, even if I summon him, he told me that his will is partially under my control, so if I expressly forbid him from, say, destroying the village, he won't be able to, which I'm assuming is the reason you asked. Said Naruto, sensing Kakashi's distress. Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief and then spoke again. Okay Naruto, since you have such an ample amount of chakra, I'm going to teach you one of the many jutsu I have copied over the years. This move is called Fire Style, Grand Fireball Jutsu, said Kakashi before showing Naruto the hand signs and then told him to practice. Hey Kyuubi, how can I use Fire Style if I have a wind affinity? Asked Naruto. Just when I think you have a brain, you go out of your way to prove me wrong. I told you that your natural affinity is easier to do, I didn't say it's the only element you can use. In any case, I have a fire affinity and therefore so do you when you use my chakra, so if you want, use my chakra when you use Fire Style Jutsu, so it is easier for you. said Kyuubi in a bored drawl. Naruto tapped into Kyuubi's chakra and proceeded to attempt the jutsu. He aimed at a tree in front of him, made the hand signs and then said, "Fire style, Grand Fireball Jutsu." As he said this, a massive ball of fire came out of his mouth, turning the tree into a smoldering pile of ashes. Naruto kept doing this until he barely used any chakra to do it. After Naruto mastered this jutsu, the fox spoke up. "Now that you have mastered this jutsu and experienced how to use fire style jutsu, I'm going to teach you one of my strongest fire style jutsu. The only drawback is that you can't use this skill without my chakra, whereas you could have used either my or your own chakra for the Grand Fireball Jutsu. This is not the case with this one. This technique is called the Nine-Tailed Fox Fire Stream, and its strength increases depending on how many tails you unleash. More tails, more power," explained Kyuubi. Naruto tried to use this in his initial Kyuubi form, but it didn't work, so he reluctantly allowed one tail to appear and then tried it. Naruto growled in pain as the one-tailed cloak covered him. Naruto felt the prickle of needles along his skin while he found his usual cheerful inner voice become quiet. Naruto crouched down into a fox-like position with his palms touching the ground. He gathered his chakra in his chest and let it travel up his throat before opening his mouth while thinking, "Nine-tailed fox fire stream." A wide stream of fire was immediately expelled from Naruto's mouth, and after it ejected his mouth, it doubled in size and rushed at the tree. A loud bang was heard indicating the breaking of wood, so Naruto stopped his jutsu to observe the damage. Not only did the stream burn the tree he was aiming at, but it also went right through it as well as another 5 behind it. Naruto was amazed, but then collapsed to the ground panting. As this was his first time unleashing the first tail, he was extremely exhausted, so he decided to stop training and see how Sasuke and Sakura were doing. Line break. Naruto walked back to where they had been and found them still there, running up the tree in Sasuke's case, or panting, or the floor in Sakura's case. Both had managed to reach the top based on the kunai scratches, so Naruto walked over to them. "Yo, you guys mastered this yet, huh, oh great Uchiha?" asked Naruto with a sarcasm-heavy voice. Sasuke back-flipped off the tree and gave a small scoff, before turning away from Naruto, much to his amusement. Before he could continue on, Kakashi appeared and loudly cleared his throat, drawing their attention. "Okay, my cute little genin, I think we have done enough training for now, so starting tomorrow we protect the bridge builder as he builds the bridge," announced Kakashi. Line break. When they returned to Tazuna's house, they arrived just in time to sit down to eat dinner at the table. Inari, Tazuna's grandson, had been watching them train today and finally started to speak to them. "Why are you guys training so hard? It's not like you are going to be able to change anything. You guys are just kids, you won't stand a chance against someone like Gato," said Inari in a flat tone. "You want to know why? It is because I'm going to become the Hokage, it's my dream," replied Naruto. "Dreams are just that, dreams, and only stupid little kids believe them. Anyway, why are you sticking your nose in our business for? Gato has hundreds of men and all of them will tear you to shreds if you go against him, and for what? You have no idea what it is like to suffer. That's why you dream, you think everything works out well, but it doesn't," shouted Inari angrily, with tears coming to his eyes. The entire room went silent. Kakashi stared concernedly at Naruto, knowing just what he had to endure. Naruto's bangs were covering his eyes as he spoke. "You think I don't know what it is like to suffer? Kid, you have no idea what it's like to suffer. In fact, I think you're nothing but a coward," Naruto shouted as he looked Inari straight in the eye, glaring at him heatedly with an oppressive aura falling over the table. Inari began to whimper, but before he started crying, he went to his room. "Naruto, you went too far, go and apologize to him," demanded Sakura. "Shut up, Sakura, you shouldn't talk about matters you have no idea about," thundered Naruto. Sakura whimpered, but wisely shut her mouth, not having seen Naruto lose his cool before and certainly never towards her. After a few seconds, the oppressive aura lifted. I'm sorry for what Inari said, Naruto, but you shouldn't be too hard on him, said Inari's mother Tsunami in a soft voice. I suppose I should tell you why Inari is the way he is, said Tazuna tiredly. Tazuna told them about Kaiza and how he taught the Land of Waves and Inari what the true meaning of courage was, as well as his relationship with Inari and how close they were. He then finished by telling them how he died at the hands of Gado's oppression. There was silence once the story was finished. The silence was broken when Naruto spoke up as he stood up. Inari is still a coward, but I will promise you all this: if I ever meet this Gado, I will kill him, declared Naruto. With that he left the room and went into the woods to train, finding himself still keyed up from earlier today. Kakashi on the other hand went to speak with Inari. Line break. Mind if I join you? Asked Kakashi, having found Inari had left his room and gone outside. Inari didn't respond, so Kakashi sat down on the pier-like construct next to Inari outside the house, looking out at the water. What Naruto said was cruel, but true. Let me tell you something about him and you might understand him a bit better. In our village, Naruto is an outcast, no friends, and no family. There are many in our village who despise him for something he had no control over. Begun Kakashi. Inari raised his head a bit and looked out at the water, begrudgingly thinking that Naruto must have suffered a great deal, considering that Inari at least still had some family. As cruel as it was that which he said to you, he has probably told himself that a million times. My guess is he got tired of crying and doing nothing and finally decided to do something about it. That is why he wants to be Hokage, so everyone will have to acknowledge him, explained Kakashi. With his piece being said, Kakashi left, leaving Inari to think. Line break. Naruto was enraged that there were people like Kaiza who suffered because of people like Gado. Naruto thought he had some idea of the depths to which humans could sink, but this story served to teach him that people could go even lower than he thought possible. Wanting a way to vent his frustration, he began some physical training, mostly push-ups and log kicks, but he kept thinking about the injustice of it all. Naruto's anger continued to slowly climb, causing him to unknowingly tap into the Kyuubi's chakra, which he didn't even notice until he saw his leg had a red chakra cloak around it, which accompanied the first tail. He became angrier and before he knew it, he had unleashed the second tail, causing his emotions to peak. Feeling something snap, Naruto's anger spiked and in a wild rage, he launched the nine-tailed fox fire stream and decimated 20 trees in front of him. Not satisfied, he then turned around in a circle and launched the stream in all directions, which led to him decimating the area and burning anything within a 500-meter radius. Naruto's cloak then receded, and he promptly passed out due to chakra exhaustion. Line break. Naruto awoke to someone shaking him. You'll catch a cold if you sleep here, said the voice. Huh, what? Said Naruto groggily, waking up. As his eyes focused, he looked up to see the face of a girl. Oh, hi there, said Naruto. What are you doing out here? The girl asked. The girl had long black hair, pale skin, and large, dark brown eyes. Her long hair was loose, and she wore a pink, sleeveless, low-cut kimono, with pale red edges, and decorated with small plum-colored swirls, that went to her ankles. Around her waist was a simple white obi tied in a bow, and she wore a pair of light brown sandals with dark straps. To add to this quite feminine appearance, she also wore a dark choker around her neck. I'm not too sure. I came out here to train, but now I'm not sure what I'm doing here, I just feel drained. What are you doing here? Replied Naruto in confusion. I'm gathering medicinal herbs, replied the stranger. Wow, she is really pretty, he thought. Kit, she is a boy, said Kyuubi, emphasizing the feminine pronoun. What? Shouted Naruto in his mind, slightly shivering. This person is the hunter ninja you met before. replied Kyuubi, with a bit of mirth in his voice. Well, let's see, thought Naruto. Hey, can I ask you a question? Naruto asked the stranger, to which the stranger nodded. Are you the hunter ninja who saved Zabuza? Asked Naruto seriously. Before I answer, will you react rashly if I tell you the truth? The stranger asked, with Naruto quickly shaking his head. In that case, yes, I am the hunter ninja, was the honest reply from the stranger. Naruto thought about it for a while and then only one question came to mind. Why? He asked. Why what? Replied the stranger. Why do you serve a person like Zabuza? Asked Naruto. He is precious to me. The boy stated. Do you understand what it means to have precious people? Questioned the boy. Naruto thought about those who were precious to him. His mind went straight to Iruka, then the third Hokage, and quickly cycled through everyone else who acknowledged him as himself and not the nine-tailed fox. Yeah, I understand what you mean, and I guess like you I would be more than willing to help them as well. Replied Naruto, to which the boy smiled. Very well then, you now have your answer. Rest now for later, as we will meet in battle and when that time comes, we will have to fight to do what we can for our precious people. Said the boy, as he stood and started to walk away. Wait, before you leave, I would like to ask you two things. Said Naruto, causing the boy to pause, allowing Naruto to continue. What is your name, and do you have a dream? Asked Naruto, genuinely curious. My name is Haku, and my dream is for Zabuza's dreams to become a reality. What are yours? Asked Haku. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and my dream is to become the Hokage so everyone will acknowledge me. Said Naruto. Well, it was nice to meet you, Naruto. Said Haku, with a small smile. Likewise, Haku. Although we may be enemies at one point, I would like to ask you if you will be my friend. Asked Naruto. I would like that, Haku said with a smile. Friends? Questioned Naruto, as he extended his hand. Haku hesitated for a moment, before reaching his hand forward, taking Naruto's hand in his own and shook it. Friends. Agreed Haku, getting a small smile from Naruto. Naruto trudged back to the house and had a quick breakfast. After he finished eating, Kakashi and Sakura went to guard Tazuna while he worked on the bridge, which left Sasuke and Naruto free. Sasuke went off to practice his fire-style jutsu while Naruto went into the woods to train with Kyuubi. Kid, you can't keep using my chakra like that. You need to be able to control it and not give in to intense emotions. Said Kyuubi seriously. How do I do that? Asked Naruto. Transform into your first-tailed form and hold it while meditating. Replied Kyuubi. Naruto complied and for the next 8 hours Naruto stayed in his one-tailed form while meditating. He then wanted to test if he had control over the form, so he deactivated it and then reactivated the first tail. Having no trouble, he then went on to try and call forth the second tail, however the strain was too much, and he passed out promptly appearing in front of the fox's cage. How did I get in here? Wondered Naruto out loud. Why did you try and use the second tail? I told you not to. Said the fox with slight traces of anger in his voice. Well, I thought I could handle it. I was just testing out my capabilities. Replied Naruto nonchalantly. You idiot, my chakra is intertwined with my hatred. If you can't control the hate, it will consume you and I will be released, not that I wouldn't mind getting out of here. Shouted the fox, before becoming thoughtful at the end. I guess that explains how I am able to draw the tails out in the first place. I was always really angry when I drew them out, so I guess that makes sense. Said Naruto thoughtfully. I guess you're not so foolish after all, but remember, if you try and force the tails to emerge, it could destroy you. Warned the fox. Makes sense. Also, Kyuubi, just a warning, if you keep insulting my intelligence, I might just show you why I am the #1 most unpredictable ninja. Said Naruto with a malicious grin before he left his mindscape. Line break. With a quick start Naruto woke up and looked around. He saw the sun was coming up, signaling a new day had arrived. Crap, I slept through the entire day. Damn, I have to get back to the house fast, we were all supposed to guard the bridge builder today. Thought Naruto, before he ran off to the house. Line break. On the bridge. Line break. Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura were walking to the bridge with Tazuna behind them. When they arrived, they saw all the workers either unconscious, or unable to get up or even move. What happened here? Asked Tazuna fearfully. Just as he finished speaking, a dense mist rolled in. Sensei, it's Zabuza, isn't it? This is his hidden mist jutsu. Asked Sakura. Well, Kakashi, I see you still have those brats with you. Pitiful that one is still trembling. Said Zabuza. At that moment, 7 water clones of Zabuza appeared around the group. Sasuke grinned and said, I'm trembling with excitement. Go on, Sasuke, they are all yours. Said Kakashi. In the space of a second, Sasuke had slashed all of the water clones and returned back to his original position. The clones promptly turned back into water. Seems like you have a rival, Haku. Said Zabuza. So it seems. Said the boy, who they previously thought was a hunter ninja. Sasuke and Haku stepped forward and prepared for battle. Sasuke pulled out a kunai, while Haku pulled out a senbon needle. Both of them charged and their weapons clanged against one another. Sasuke kept trying to get past Haku's guard, but Haku was just as fast as him, making it impossible. They kept this up until Haku spoke, we are only after the bridge builder. If you back off, we won't need to fight you. Sasuke ignored him and kept looking for an opening. You are at a great disadvantage, give up now. Said Haku calmly. How am I at a disadvantage? Sasuke asked with a scoff, clearly not believing Haku. First, we are surrounded by water, and second, I've blocked one of your hands, leaving you with only one to defend yourself. Said Haku in his level tone. Haku brought his free hand up and begun to make hand signs using only that hand. When he finished, he said, Secret Jutsu, 1,000 needles of death. Haku stomped his foot on the ground and the water rose up all around them in the shape of water droplets. In the next moment, all the droplets turned into sharp water needles. The needles rushed at Sasuke in an attempt to skewer him. Sasuke managed to avoid the needles by pushing his chakra into his feet and leaping away. While in the air, he threw 4 shuriken, causing Haku to back-flip away. Sasuke then appeared behind him and cockily said, From this point on, you are going to be defending from my attacks. Sasuke charged with a kunai which Haku blocked with his forearm. Haku then tried to sweep Sasuke's legs with his arm, with a needle held firmly in his hand, but Sasuke kicked him in the face, sending him back to Zabuza. Zabuza was in shock and Kakashi took that moment to boast. You made a big mistake in calling these ninja brats. That's just guaranteed to bring out Sasuke's attitude, and he is one of the Leaf's best young fighters, while Sakura is one of the village's sharpest minds, and finally, the village's #1 most unpredictable ninja is none other than Naruto Uzumaki. Said Kakashi. Haku, if this keeps up, we will be the victims, not them, get on with it. Said Zabuza in a no-nonsense tone. Right. Said Haku. As the masked ninja stood up, purplish-blue streams of light begun to come off Haku in waves. Haku walked back towards where Sasuke was. I'm sorry it had to come to this. Secret Jutsu. Crystal ice mirrors. Said Haku in a slightly sad tone. Mirrors of ice appeared around Sasuke and Haku. The mirrors then glowed and Haku walked right into one, disappearing within it, and then reappeared as an image on the mirror, which was then projected to all the other mirrors. Kakashi ran and tried to get in there to help Sasuke, but Zabuza stood in his way. Your fight is with me, Kakashi. The boy doesn't stand a chance against Haku. Said Zabuza cheerfully. Before you delude yourself with false hope, let me tell you a little secret. Haku is even stronger than me. In other words, your boy is doomed. Finished Zabuza sadistically. Line break. Haku spoke to Sasuke from within a mirror. now I'll show you what speed really is. The mirrors glowed and needles begun flying at Sasuke from all directions. He was slashed and his kunai was knocked away by the needles and sent flying out of the mirror dome. Line break. Both Sakura and Kakashi called out, Sasuke. Try and help him, Kakashi, and I'll kill those other two in a heartbeat, said Zabuza. Sakura picked up the kunai and ran towards the mirror dome. Sasuke, catch, she shouted, as she flung the kunai towards Sasuke. However, before it could reach Sasuke, Haku appeared out of one of the mirrors and grabbed it. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a shuriken flew through the air and hit Haku's mask, leaving a deep gash. Everyone looked at the direction it came from and saw. Line break. At the house. Line break. Inari, can you give me a hand? Asked Tsunami in the kitchen. I'll be there in a minute, Mom, replied Inari, who was upstairs in his room. All of a sudden, the front door was slashed and crumbled into pieces by two bandits who had just appeared. Tsunami screamed as they hit her, sending her to the floor. Inari heard the scream and ran down the stairs, arriving on the scene. Sticking his head cautiously around the hall, he looked to see what was wrong. Mum, cried Inari. Inari, go away from here now, shouted Tsunami. Don't move, said the bandit. Should we take him hostage as well? Asked the bandit to his partner. The first bandit was of tall stature and wore an eye patch over his right eye, while his left eye was white with a black pupil. He had brown hair which he parted in 3 parts, finishing in an elaborate topknot. He had an intricate tattoo that seemingly stretched across his entire left side, as well as a stitched scar on the left side of his forehead, and the left side of his mouth. He was wearing what seemed to be a loose-fitting kimono, albeit not in the traditional manner, as the top half of the outfit fell around his waist, leaving his upper body exposed. He also wore bandages wrapped around his waist, simple sandals, and carried a fairly long sword. No, Gato said, only one hostage, replied the other bandit. This one was a light-skinned man with bluish-white hair and also had black eyes. He also had lined markings tattooed under his eyes. He wore a dark purple hat on this head, the top of which extended far beyond the top of his head. He also wore a blue jacket with multiple pockets and had a katana with a blue handle tied to his waist. All right, that means I can cut him up, said the first bandit excitedly, as he moved his hand to his sword. No, don't hurt him, he is just a boy. If all you want is a hostage, I'll do anything you say, but if you hurt him, I'll bite my tongue and kill myself, shouted Tsunami. Well, looks like your mum came through for you, huh kid? Commented the second bandit. It's a shame, I was really in the mood to cut something, said the other bandit. Relax, and anyway, you've already drawn blood today, replied his partner. The three walked out and Inari started crying. I couldn't do anything, I'm so weak, he thought as he kept crying. Then he remembered what Naruto said, you're nothing but a coward. Followed by what Kakashi told him, I think he just got tired of crying and decided to do something. Inari's thoughts then shifted to Kaiza, his grandpa, and his mum, all of which showed courage in difficult situations. Can I be strong like them too? Thought Inari. Having a change of heart, Inari decided he wouldn't cry anymore and charged outside. Let go of my mum, he shouted, as he charged the bandits, arms flailing to his sides. Now can we cut him? Asked first bandit in an eager tone. Sure, replied the other bandit. No, don't touch him, if you do all, started Tsunami, but she didn't manage to finish what she was going to say, as she was chopped in the neck with the bandit callously saying, take a nap. They sliced at Inari and his form was split into 3 bloody pieces, but then when they looked back, they saw a log sliced into 3 parts instead of a sliced up body. A substitution, said one of the bandits. Naruto had arrived and stopped the bandits from slicing Inari and rescued Tsunami, who blushed slightly. Good job, Inari. Thanks to your distraction, I was able to save your mum, although the hero always shows up at the last minute anyway. said Naruto. Naruto? Asked Inari wide-eyed. Get him, said the bandits as they charged at Naruto, swords drawn. Naruto simply threw 2 shuriken which they easily deflected with their swords. They then bragged, "You're going to have to do better than that." "I did," said Naruto with a smile, as the 2 shuriken popped into shadow clones, which then proceeded to kick both bandits in the face, knocking them both out cold. "Inari, you were very brave," praised Naruto. Inari started crying. "Damn it, I promised myself I wouldn't cry anymore," sniffled Inari. Naruto placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "It's alright to cry if you're happy." Naruto stood and told Inari, "I'm going to check out the bridge, in the meantime, take care of your mum," said Naruto, as he ran away. "You got it, Naruto," said Inari, while giving him a thumbs up. Naruto took a moment to survey the battlefield. Sasuke was just about exhausted, while Haku seemed fine. Tazuna and Sakura were untouched, while Kakashi appeared worse for wear and appeared quite worn out, with a slash on his chest which showed blood had been drawn. Sizing up his options, he quickly made a shadow clone and sent it to help Kakashi, while he went to help Sasuke. Line break. With Sasuke. Line break. Naruto had walked into the dome and saw the ice mirrors he noticed from the outside looked undamaged, before all appeared to show Haku. For some reason Naruto just knew only one was the real one, but had no idea how to work it out at the moment. "Sasuke, tell me what you know about this jutsu," Naruto requested seriously. "He uses mirrors to transport himself at super speeds and it appears as though he is all around, when he is really in one place." Sasuke summed up. "Have you tried any fire jutsu?" inquired Naruto. "Yeah, but they don't work, or I wouldn't be in this mess, idiot," Sasuke stated. "Fine, well now it's my time to try my own jutsu, fire style, Grand Fireball Jutsu," Naruto intoned, as a great fireball emerged and struck a mirror. Once the flames died down, it was clear nothing had happened. "Told you," said Sasuke arrogantly. "Fine, I'll go with Plan B, Shadow Clone Jutsu," shouted Naruto, with 16 clones appearing in total, enough so there would be a clone for each mirror in the structure. "Sasuke, I noticed for a while that you were able to keep up with his movements, have you managed to activate your Sharingan?" Naruto asked. "No, but I'm close," Sasuke admitted reluctantly. "Very well, watch the battle and